Vader was only in his 40s.
He wasn't that old.
But in my eyes, it's like he was.
When you're like looking at Darth Vader and you're like, oh, you're as old as Alec Guinness. So,
but
I will say I do love that point in Star Wars, and this is getting super nerdy, and we're not talking about this for too long because I'm a nerd out. But the fact that Vader was shown as a broken old man at the end, I think is a beautiful character piece that they did with Star Wars.
It's just like Mandalorian when he first removed his helmet, and you realize that he was just a normal.
Oh my
Pedro
gosh,
Pascal.
you're Pedro Pascal.
Your hair. You have helmet hair.
No, but like, I know why they did it, because they're like, the last time that Vader was light side was that Anakin. But I was like, but he showed that he still had light in him.
Yes, the Vader in the Kenobi show, though.
That one's perfect.
That was a really good Vader.
With Hayden Christensen.
With Hayden Christensen. We love you, Hayden Christensen. Come on the pod.
Hey, Hayden Christensen. We love Canada.
That's our first guest is Hayden Christensen.
Can you imagine the fans?
And then we don't even talk about Star Wars. We talk about like
Brendan Fraser.
No, what's a really boring like history person that we'll talk about?
We'll talk about Julius Caesar.
There you go.
Did you hear
Julius Caesar isn't boring?
No, he's Palpatine. Did you hear that they are officially releasing a new Mummy with Brendan Fraser again?
I will believe it when I see it.
He's coming out of retirement, everybody. We did it. This podcast.
I take full credit.
Us. We brought Brendan back.
I thought he's been out of retirement for a few years now.
You shut up, Jake. It's all us.
No. He's been out of retirement, but retiring out of the Mummy, we put him back into
exactly
King Tut.
That's what did it, King Tut. I think we also talked about him in the actual pyramids one too with Dad. I guess Dad was
our first guest star.
So Hayden Christensen, it's not even going to be our first; he'll be our second. Are you guys ready to go?
What are we talking about today?
Who am I?
Welcome everyone to the Twaddling Along podcast. I am your host Dan McBride, here with my brothers and co-host Jake.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something here.
Are.
My internet search history is less a search about history and more a cry out for help.
And Josh.
I'm glad you said that instead of, I'm really scared of my search history.
I'm really scared. That's why I'm old school and I have a little folder. Look at this. My journal has turned into kind of like, like the when they on the TV show when they find like the homeless person's journal.
Yeah.
And it's just nonsense. That's what mine has turned into.
Can we add on our YouTube just a picture of your journal?
You want a picture of my journal?
Just like we'll have Jake's drawing, but like then just Danny's
and then
journal.
a journal picture on the side.
The journal picture.
I decided to type what I just said into the thing, and I said, "What's a good follow up?" And they said, "We're talking. Can a house have anxiety at 3 a.m?" That literally explains who we are. Have you guys ever had that?
Can a house have anxiety at 3 a.m?
That's like me sitting in the car going, if a snail doesn't have a shell, does that mean he's homeless or nudist?
Both.
And just the thought, like going through your head.
Thought, I have them all the time.
Oh, shower thoughts?
I had the other day. I was thinking about the flag of the United States, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I turn like the stars just a little bit, if it would annoy people.
It would annoy our mom.
It sure would. Hey, that's not what we're talking about today. And you want to know why?
Why?
Because it's October, everyone.
And that's the only month we don't annoy our mother.
It is the creepy season, the spooky season, the Halloween season, and it is my turn to talk about paranormal, and I'm the only one who takes it seriously.
True.
The only one on this podcast who takes it seriously.
I think you're the only one who takes the podcast seriously in general.
Well, there you go.
He has a journal.
I do have a journal.
He has a written record.
I have a written record. Yeah, my children are going to go. My children, when I die, are going to go through my journal and go, my father was...
they're going to bury it with you. And when someone digs you up 1,000 years from now...
We have a year's worth of our voices that our kids will be able to hold on to.
That is true.
No, but do you know what's scary is in the
talking about
future...
some very strange
in the future,
things.
that means they can just like mimic our voice with AI and just make us say anything.
Well, I'm going to do that here in the next few months, so I don't have to say anything at all.
Your AI just does it for you.
It just doesn't
It's
show
gonna
up.
be. It's gonna be like everyone's gonna
And
be like,
it's
"Welcome to the history episode.
creepy.
We have Jake here."
Wait, I'm sorry. When Jake, I want you to leave this in, Danny, when you edit this, but Jake's throat just made a noise right as he stopped. It was like,
We're gonna talk about that.
We are going to talk about you mean ventriloquism?
I don't think that's my throat. I think that's my stomach.
Oh, dear.
oh, wow.
I'm missing an organ, guys. Behave yourself.
You are missing an organ. I did include that in our last podcast thing that you were missing an organ, by the way.
You didn't include it?
I did.
You did.
Organless.
No, we're talking about something that's kind of spooky. And the reason that I'm saying that it's spooky is because this is one of those ones that once I started going, I'm getting us back on track. Once I started actually delving into this topic, I realized that it's a lot more deeper than I thought to begin with. And that is the poltergeist. Now, we had already talked about it before in the last podcast.
We did?
We did, yeah. And I had said that we were going to go over the Enfield poltergeist, which we still will. But I want to start with just what a poltergeist is to begin with.
Really unhappy Irishman.
A very unhappy Irishman.
But it's actually a German word.
It is a German. And so, poltergeist is poltern, meaning knock, noise, or bell, and geist, which means the spirit.
So a very loud spirit.
A very knocking spirit.
A very knocking spirit. Yeah, it's actually, so it's even funnier than that. When you translate it directly, the Germans actually say what it translates to is the rumble ghost. Jake's rumbly tummy over there is a ghost.
A poltergeist inside me.
Now, this
The
topic
ghost of my gallbladder.
This topic is going to get super, super twaddly because it turns out that the term poltergeist and the whole idea of a poltergeist is connected to a lot of different things, including the Reformation with Martin Luther.
Ooh.
The rising of the Methodist Church. It is connected to ancient Old Testament talks. It's connected to some of the very first anti-witch books and very worst.
Very worst anti-witch book.
It's okay.
Witches are bad.
The author has been dead for about 300 years. I can say that. And it's connected to Hollywood and also
Hollywood.
curses.
Curses as in like
The board game?
As in true blue 100% people died because they think there's a curse surrounding it.
King Tut.
ooh.
So let's get started.
All right.
You guys ready?
No.
Let's begin. Where does it all start, Danny?
Why the first term, and the reason why it's connected to the Reformation is the originator of the term poltergeist was actually Martin Luther himself. Martin Luther, as part of his writings, someone asked him the question on whether or not he believed in ghosts. And Martin Luther responded in writing that no, he didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in the poltergeist, which was the devil, who he believed, and it's part of the Reformation and also in Calvinist believing that the spirit would never return to earth. And so he believed that the knocking that was happening all over the place and the creepy noises was actually the devil
Because
that was doing the noises. The devil itself. However, the idea of poltergeist is actually incredibly old. There's actually ancient tablets that were by the Sumerians and the Babylonians that had specific, huge, things that a person could do to get rid of these ghosts or spirits that would be haunting their place. It is called the maklu, and it's called the burning ritual cleansing. And
so like smudging?
It's even more crazy than smudging. So I had a AI do kind of a quick write-up of what was actually involved with this. And you had to make a fire, you had to burn lead, and you had to burn incense in the fire, you had to burn sulfur in the fire, and then you had to take that out, you had to paint parts of your body, you had to go out into the street and say specific incantations. It was like a 3 or 4 day process, and you would get rid of these poltergeists. And the poltergeist that they believed in was the idea that someone wasn't buried correctly, and so they were restless.
Interesting.
which is something that you kind of see pop up a lot with poltergeists. It always seems to be something like a restless spirit.
So does that explain why some people before they die want to try out their coffins
yes.
so they could be comfy?
Have you guys seen? I can't remember what it's called, Coffin Confessionals or something like that. There's a YouTube short or a YouTube show with I can't even remember what his name is, but one of the actors, he actually pulls in other actors and they have to lay down in a coffin of their choice.
Oh yeah.
and do confessions.
And then they have like an interview.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched any of
I
those?
have seen.
I think I've seen snips. I don't
They
think
are hilarious and I love them. Shout out to whoever that person is.
Let's find out.
He was in
Coffin
Ant-Man.
Confessional.
In X-Men?
Ant-Man. He was one of the guys.
Are you talking
in
Paul
Ant-Man.
Rudd or?
No. Paul Rudd, I think, was on there. But the actor was the Russian friend in like the security group.
Well, I pulled up a lot of garbage. That's not what I wanted.
I can tell you. Maybe.
All I'm finding is a whole lot of
Not good things.
interesting things.
It's about everything that pulled up for me is how the funeral, like mortuary people are all evil because they make us spend money.
David Dasmalchian, who played Kurt. I will show you a picture of him and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. There he is. There's...
Oh, the guy that actually looks like he's dead.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So he's actually like a true blue goth in real life.
Pause. Do you know who he looks like? Who? He looks like the guy from Dust who actually makes the coffins.
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
These boots. The owner won't need them anymore.
Oh, you are right. He kind of does. That's weird. Dust, Tale of the Wired West. What a great game.
I thought that was a misspelling.
Tale of the Wired West?
Yeah. Instead of wild, it was wired.
No, wired isn't telegraphed.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, there you go. This is why history is important, people. So, continuing with our little talk on the poltergeist. So, poltergeists are also they're brought up a whole lot in Roman and Greek writing. Pliny the Younger, who's the nephew of Pliny the Elder, actually talked about like a whole house in Athens that was being haunted by clinking noises of chains. So the house would be empty and they would literally hear chains being dragged across the floor all the time. The ancient Celts and the Germanic people had multiple names for the phenomenon.
Did you just call them Celts?
You are a dirty son of a gun.
Are they not called Celtics?
No, they're called Celtics.
I see. Ancient Celtic
Go
Germanic
back
people
to the East Coast.
had multiple names for the phenomena, including the She, which was spelled Sidhe, or the Mound Fairies, the Hobgoblins, and in Norse they were called the Alfar, or you guys will love this one, the Dragar,
Dradar.
as in the ones that
Skyrim.
you fight in Skyrim constantly.
Zombies.
So there's so many different tales and stories of this kind of corporeal or non-corporeal thing in your house that's moving things around nonstop.
Interesting.
Yeah. So let's get into some closing on modern day ones.
Ooh.
I'm going to read you guys a bit of a story. It was the spring of 1661, and this was in the quiet town of Tedworth, Wiltshire, which is just about 16 miles from the ancient stones at Stonehenge. Local magistrate John Mompesson had recently confiscated a drum of a well-known and wandering beggar named William Drury, who had been going door to door, falsely claiming to possess a license to beg. At that time in England, you had to go get a license to beg.
That is awesome.
Mompesson took the drum under protest. Some whispered that Drury, known for his strange ways, had placed a gypsy curse upon it, one that would ensure Mompesson would never know peace again. They locked the drum away, and it was forgotten. But then, it started drumming. At least what's what the family claimed. In the dead of the night, they heard soft tapping, barely audible at first, but growing louder, more rhythmic, and painfully insistent is the way that they described it. Now, I have no idea what painfully insistent means. I have a feeling that it's just like something that is repeated again and again and again and louder and louder and louder. It was if the ghost of a long-dead drummer boy marched through the halls, keeping time with a beat no living soul could follow.
Peace on earth.
What was strange was that the sound never came from one place. It echoed through the walls and floors, shifting and elusive, and it was never centralized. It didn't actually come from the drum itself. They would open up the door and hear the drumming. The drum would be sitting there. No drumming was happening. Then it escalated. There was knocking. There was scratching. There was violent shaking of furniture. Doors slammed shut and locked themselves. Candles were snuffed out by phantom breath. And the children of the family were shaken from their beds, literally off of their beds, terrified. And there was hundreds of witnesses. Witnesses came to investigate and determined to expose the hoax. At the time, there was a thing that was going on in England that was called the natural sciences. And it was kind of the very fledgling belief that not everything was associated with ghosts. So there was a lot of really big interest in this case. No one could figure out what was going on. They heard the drumming. They heard it was relentless. They said that it was relentless and cruel. The disturbances continued for years and years and years until eventually they faded into silence. The house grew still, but the tale of the drummer of Tedworth lived on, whispered through the generations.
Can you imagine bringing this drum in? You're like, stupid beggar, go get your license, whatever. But then the drum starts playing. Like, I would move. Like,
I would run away.
I would not be
I think
there
that's
anymore.
the majority of the stories. I'm like, why didn't you just move?
Well, we're going to talk about that here in a second because that might not always work. So the reason that we even know this is a story that was passed down by a guy by the name of Joseph Glanville. He was one of the big philosophers of the time in England. He was also a clergyman. And he included a lot of the stories of like the early kind of spooky ghost things in a book called Saggicismus Triumphatus.
Saggicistic.
Or the Sadducees' Triumph.
Oh.
Now, the reason that he called this book the Sadducees' Triumph is that he believed that the world was actually becoming more secular and more non-believing. And he believed that this non-belief and secularism would actually lead people to be, let's see, what did he say? It would be akin to denying the eternal soul, and that it would be deeply involved in their destruction and damnation.
So Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. So this guy, Joseph Gladwell, he was saying that I'm recording all these things down because people need to know that these things are actually happening.
Gotcha. So they were moving away from that spiritual belief and thinking,
yeah. This was right. This was right in the middle of the Renaissance, which is where you see a lot of this kind of. It's more. They call it enlightenment, but it's kind of the moving away of the everything is caused by a demon, a devil, the ghosts of my ancestors, yada yada yada, and trying to explain a more natural thing. Now, the funny thing is this Joseph Glanville was actually a naturalist. He actually believed in the sciences big time. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to me that he even wrote this book because in a lot of his other books that I was looking up, he's all about like, diseases caused by A, B, and C, and in the future we'll have the sciences take over, and yet he was so adamant that the supernatural not be forgotten. The other reason that he called it the triumph of the Sadducees is that there was a common misconception at that time that was actually circulated by Josephus, who was like
Josephus.
Yes, he was a very early Jewish writer.
Yep. That
the Sadducees did not believe in an eternal soul, and it led their order to destruction.
Gotcha.
Now, that's not true. Yeah. Sadducees believed in eternal soul. They believed that there was life after death, sort of, kind of.
But they didn't believe
in resurrection.
Yeah.
So,
and Josephus, for everyone, I believe he was the 1st or 2nd century AD is when he.
Yeah, well, it was 1st century AD. So, and people had picked up his writing because another thing that was happening during the Renaissance is everybody was kind of obsessed with old writing. So Pliny the Elder was super popular. The teachings of Aristotle, all these things were kind of coming back into vogue. And so, you see a lot of them you see a lot of kind of stealing of ideas from the ancients and putting it into modern day context. So,
Gotcha. Interesting.
All right. Shall we talk about John Wesley?
John Wesley, the preacher?
Yes.
John Wesley Powell?
Not John Wesley Powell.
John Wesley,
who's John Wesley Powell?
I don't know. I just said it.
John Wesley, he was
It rolled off the tongue.
a pastor, preacher in New England in the 1600s, right?
No.
Oh,
But
John
you're
Wesley Powell was the
really-
geologist.
What was he a geologist of?
He was the former director of the United States Geology Survey.
Why in the heck would you
Why
know
would
that?
you know John Wesley Powell? Jake. Turns out Jake has a deep interest in geology.
Little did you guys know all these years.
Wasn't John Wesley actually in England?
I'll tell you about John Wesley. So, in the winter of 1716, in the quiet village of Epworth, Lincolnshire, which is also in England,
Lincolnshire.
except that this is pretty far up north in England. I think this is close to Manchester. The Wesley family, Reverend Samuel Wesley and his wife Susanna and their children, had settled into an old rectory. Now, a rectory, for those who don't know, it's just a place where the pastor or priest lives in the Anglican church. So they don't have pastors and preachers; they have rectors and vicars. Mm-hmm. So if you ever watch like a British show and vicar, it's just the leader of the church.
I thought they were just pronouncing Victor wrong.
No. Though it makes me want to watch Keeping Up with Appearances.
Oh,
Dun, 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 dun.
I love Keeping Up with Appearances.
dun, dun, dun.
Okay. They had settled down into this old rectory, a creaking house surrounded by windswept fields and silence. This is an old house. The fun thing is that it's still around. They've actually, the Methodist Church has taken over this and it's kept it
Preserved
around.
it. Interesting.
Their silence did not last long. It began with knocking. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't footsteps, but deliberate rhythmic taps. And what they say is it was literally all the time.
Jingle all the way. Oh, sorry.
At first, they dismissed it because they really did think it was something that was going on, but the knocks grew louder, more insistent, and they came at night when the fire had died out and the house lay in shadow. Then came the groans. Low, mournful sounds that echoed through the halls. The children whispered of a spirit that they named Old Jeffrey. A presence that seemed to move from room to room, never seen, but always felt. Footsteps creaked across empty floors, doors slammed shut, candles flickered and died, and then one night Susanna Wesley, which is as kind of a reminder, is the mother, felt her bed shake so violently, even though there was no one there. The children were startled awake, their blankets were pulled from them, and their sleep was shattered. Now, Reverend Samuel Wesley was actually a very popular church leader, and so he had a lot of friends, and he invited everybody over, like visitors like crazy. And he would literally, they would sit the family in the middle of the room, so there was no one else in the house, including their servants. They would dismiss their servants, have the friends and family come over, and they would play a game where they would track old Jeffrey through the house. So they would track him by the knocking, they would track him by the groans, they would track him by the scrapings, and then what they would do is they would all run off as like a whole huge party. They would run up to the room to see if they could catch old Jeffrey.
That is legit.
When in Rome.
Can we do this? Danny, your house creaks the most. Let's go catch old Jeffrey.
The haunting continued for weeks. Now, it was only weeks. They only actually, I think that later it was said that the total time was, I think, about 3.5 months. And then it just completely stopped.
The Poltergeist realized he wasn't having as much fun when they come running after him.
Jeffrey!
My
name's not Jeffrey.
The house fell silent, but this story is actually an incredibly popular one. And it's because of one of their sons, which was John Wesley.
John Wesley.
John Wesley is the principal leader in the Methodist movement.
Oh, that's who it is.
He is the guy who actually started Methodism. So for those who don't know what Methodism is, the Methodist movement it's a break off kind of from the Anglican Church, where they take a lot of the Protestant beliefs that weren't Calvinism. This is going to just get so deep, sorry. But they took a lot of the beliefs that weren't Calvinistic, so they didn't necessarily believe in like predestination. They believed a little bit more in faith and different things like that. And they believed in preaching outdoors. So if you look at like the Second Reformation that happened in the United States, where you had a lot of preachers that were going around and preaching outdoors and preaching about faith and strength and everything, it kind of came from the Methodist ideology. This is a lot of times where like some of the Baptist church came from that. Pentecostal churches came from kind of the same vein. They all had different people who started, but it's kind of the same similar belief. John Wesley, however, believed incredibly strongly for the rest of his life that the paranormal was essential not only to people's understanding, but literally to his belief in God. So his belief was that the paranormal, or the denying the existence of the paranormal, would be a step towards materialism and atheism, and that it was only through the belief in all things paranormal. So he believed in witches, he believed in fairies, he believed in things, but he most strongly believed in ghosts. He believed that the belief in these things was essential to his understanding of the gospel of Christ.
Dang.
Which is crazy.
Question is,
yes.
Did he believe in geology?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, the reason I know John Wesley Powell is because Lake Powell's named after him.
Oh.
He's the geologist that was the one that discovered
John Wesley Powell.
And Mount Powell in the Sierra Nevadas, also named after him. Powell, Wyoming, also named after him.
Well,
but that's very interesting. The concept of, in order to have a complete faith, you have to believe in what
everything
now today is considered, kind of
superstition.
Yeah. But it was known as faith.
Kind of. It really was. And that was directly against what Calvinism taught. So that's like a Scottish Presbyterianism, and like the Presbyterian Church of like New England, where they believe that there was no such thing as anything to do with the paranormal.
Which is really funny because they burned all the witches.
Except for the devil. And there is some kind of irony in that, because their belief in witches had nothing to do with what traditional witch belief was. It was, she is the bride of the devil. Don't let us burn her.
By the devil.
And the other people that were big Calvinists are the Puritans.
Yeah.
So they were heavy, strong believers in Calvinism.
Yeah. If you have read the Red Letter, the first building they built was a church, but the second was the prison.
Yep. They were. I think the best way to describe them is they didn't necessarily come to the U.S. to escape persecution of religious belief.
No,
they came to persecute according to their religious belief.
Yes, they came to purify a new world.
All right, so let's talk about some more common ones. The very first one that we'll talk about is the Enfield Poltergeist.
Enfield.
Now, the reason we even bring up the Enfield Poltergeist is it is a incredibly popular story. There's been movies made out of it. The Conjuring 2 is based off of the Enfield ghosts. There's a lot of things that are kind of driven, and it's also kind of the first inkling that maybe poltergeists aren't necessarily spirits, and maybe they're just a bunch of jerk kids doing stuff. But we'll talk about that here in a second. Jerks. So, recap of the Enfield Ghost. It was 1977. This was also in England, but it was in London.
I'm starting to get,
There is a commonality. England does have a lot for some odd reason. I don't know.
English.
Peggy Hodgson, a single mother and her 4 children, had just settled in for the night in a brand new what was called a council house. Now, a council house is just a house that was built by the local government that was kind of, the best way to describe it now is low-income housing.
Yeah.
It's kind of a townhome almost.
Yeah, very much. It was government funded, government kind of stipulated. And there's a good reason. She had just broken up with her husband. They were having a lot of family problems at the time, and she just didn't have a whole lot of money. It started with knocking. Now, this is another one that starts with knocking. It's kind of strange that this keeps popping up with Poltergeist. This one was sharp, deliberate raps on a wall and ceiling. Then came the furniture that was sliding across the floor with no one near it. Drawers opened, toys flew, and the children, especially Janet, who was at that time 11, began to speak in voices.
Very deep guttural noise.
Yep, deep, gravelly voices that didn't belong to them. Then the house was just not even quiet ever. Janet was thrown from her bed. Margaret, who was one of the other sisters, watched as objects danced in the air. The family, funny enough, and I actually went back and looked at this because there's public record, they called the police a lot.
Yeah. Well, police actually came over and witnessed the chair moving.
They saw the chair move on their own, but they could do nothing. Paranormal investigators from all over the place came over and stayed for not just a couple days, but months. There's one specifically, her name is Maurice Gross. I think it's a she. It might be a he.
Maurice Gross?
Yeah.
I think it's a he.
Is it a he? Maurice Gross stayed for months and documented everything that was going on. The voice that was emanating from little Janet claimed to be Bill Wilkins, who was a man who had died in the house year before. It broke through Janet, growling, mocking, laughing. Recordings were made. You can actually still hear the recordings. They're kind of laughable, I'm going to be honest. Photographs were taken. Witnesses swore they saw Janet levitate, but not everybody believed. There was a lot of skeptics that accused the children of faking it, of playing tricks, of seeking attention. But what's weird is that the disturbances kind of continued even when the children weren't there, which is kind of a funky thing. Doors continued to slam. There continued to be objects flying. The cameras disappeared, and yet it still happened. Eventually, it kind of just went away. It just faded. The family moved on, but the story didn't. Like I said, the Enfield Poltergeist became legend. There were a ton of different books that were written. Documentaries were filmed. Conjuring 2, like we talked about. And the debate is still one of the most forefront in paranormal, in the paranormal world. And that is, was it a hoax? Was it a haunting? Or was it both? Was there elements of both that was happening? So you guys were able to kind of read about the Enfield a little bit. I know Jake did at least.
I actually watched the documentary with Maurice that actually went through and showed what he did while he was at the house and everything. Which, by the way, as I was telling Josh, it was bad because as I was watching it, it just reminded me of all the British comedies because of the way it was filmed and everything like that.
Like a Benny Hill?
Well, and then literally, and then it also reminded me of Monty Python, where they would sometimes have that serious presenter giving detailed information, and then something random happens next. So, but I mean, this Maurice guy, he dedicated his life to this type of study after this, and he got recordings and did stuff, and there was stuff right there. Josh,
did you just pull up the recording?
Yeah, I did. I'm trying to find a good spot to play. Here, let's see. Oh, I screenshot him.
Because and what they did is in this interview, they also had the journalist come in and interview.
Yeah, that is one of the girls. That's Janet. All right, so we don't get copyright struck.
So what was interesting is he had other recordings where he would openly talk with the ghosts. He would go in and he would actually talk to whoever this was. And
this Billy character.
Do you remember the old ghost hunting things where it's if you are here, let us know now, and then there's a slight tap and oh my gosh, beep 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 beep, run down the hall type of thing. Well, he would be in the room and he would say, "I want you to knock once or twice. Once for yes, twice for no. Are you a ghost?" And then you'd hear the knock. That's a yes. And then, are you a male? Nothing. That's a yes. Okay. Then move. And it's just random stuff where you just look at it and you're like, okay.
Well, and this is one of those that, there are strong beliefs that a lot of the stuff that happened are hoaxes. Janet herself actually had an interview with a guy by the name of Alan Radner, where she's quoted in saying, "I once had a tape recorder and put some flower pots in the middle of the room."
Yeah.
Which everybody interprets to, oh yeah, the kids have made this entire thing up.
Now, the letter said that actually they did do a little bit just because nothing was happening while the journalists were there and they felt bad. So they said 2% of it was fake and it was them. The rest of it was real.
Yeah.
And I watched the interview with them for Conjuring 2.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, and they still very strongly believe it.
Yeah, especially Margaret. So Margaret was the oldest daughter. And
she was the voice of Bill a lot of times, right?
No, Janet was the one who
Janet
was the one who was kind of
just older.
But she was older. She was about 13 when this was all happening or beginning to happen. And she is the one that like straight up is like, no, it was absolutely real and absolutely terrifying. Like maybe there was other things that the kids were doing, but for the things that were happening to me, I believe that it's true. I'm dubious. And let me tell you why I'm a little dubious about this story compared to others. Normally, I'm a pretty big believer in the idea that maybe there's something out there. I don't know if I necessarily believe in poltergeist, but that there's something that's happening out there. However, this family had a rough upbringing.
Yeah.
Like really, really rough. At the time this was all happening, the third boy, whose name was Johnny, was actually at a reform school for people that were mentally deranged.
Yeah, so the asylums, basically.
Yeah.
Well, and you feel bad because you watch them in these interviews, and they're very, they're very awkward. They're very, they sit there. The journalist tries asking the ghost to say something. Nothing happens. They turn, smile at each other, look back at the person.
Yeah.
Just things like that where you could see why people are like, "Are you really doing it?"
Well, and I think that there's also this whole thing that the mom was on her own for the very first time. They were incredibly poor, and I think everybody was just vying for attention.
Yeah. I read a few things that some psychologists did things that there's a very real possibility that mental illness played a very large part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
but it's one of those that we've talked about where you see where people from the outside would look in and like say, "Oh, we saw Janet levitating.
Yeah.
We saw her floating
Yeah.
in the air." So I mean, like, there's things where people saw things, and other people that were with them were like, "No, that's not what it is." So it's interesting that you have all these conflicting stories where some people are like, "Oh, I totally see it right there," and then other people are like, "No, that's
she was jumping on the bed."
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to the kids, I am of the belief, especially in this story, that the kids were probably, I would almost flip that statistic and say 98% of this with kids. There is that weird 2% though, because I did look up the police reports
with the chair moving,
and with the tapping, because they also came a second time for the tapping.
Well, and the chair levitated one of the times too.
Yeah,
so.
and there was no one there. They had evacuated the family and had gone in.
Yeah.
And that chair was still kind of moving on its own, and they were still knocking.
Well, they looked for rope. They looked for anything that would
and there was
give it.
nothing there. So and there's still some weirdness when it comes to this.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people in those circumstances, you think they go tell a neighbor, "Oh my gosh, the chair moved." And it happened once, and so to make it a better story, they probably participated in other things to make it
I think
grandiose, instead of just a...
There's something that exists within the paranormal kind of and parapsychology world in which they say that every story that you hear of the paranormal is going to be fleshed out in this huge story where you have to kind of look for the small details, and the small details are more than likely what actually happened.
Yeah, it's
everything else is just
truth.
is kind of grown from this one.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where it's like, I believe that they believe that they were experiencing things.
Yeah.
Like because they even now they're very strong, they're very emotional about it, they're very concerned about it, and it's one of those. It's like, well, that's
well, and I'm going to talk about just a little bit later after my last story. I want to talk about some of the belief on where this comes from, because there's some theories that are floating out there that has nothing to do with ghosts. And there's some that are actually, I would say, legitimate. We'll talk kind of about infrasound. We'll talk about EMF. We'll talk about a couple different things like that.
science.
Now, I will tell you, this Alan Radner, I got super excited when I first found out this Alan Radner, because I thought, hey, I think that's Josh Radner's son from How I Met Your Mother, who he played Ted Mosby. And I thought, oh my gosh, should I just find like this connection of How I Met Your Mother to the Poltergeist? Two different people.
Oh, dang it.
And I was so sad
Oh.
that Alan Radner, because his dad's name is actually Alan Radner, but he's like a famous attorney back east. He's not actually like a journalist in England.
Or is he?
Dun, dun, dun. All right, the last one that I'm going to talk about before we get into some of the theories and then also maybe some of the curses. This was done in 1989, and this is not in England. This is in Ellerslie, Georgia.
Pretty much England.
And this is a family of Andy and Lisa Warwick, who had moved into a modest house with their 3-year-old daughter, Heidi. The house was nothing special, just a simple southern dwelling nestled among trees and silence. Now, Heidi was little. I think it says later that she was 4 years old. Heidi began to speak of a man named Mr. Gordy, an elderly gentleman who wore a suit and shiny black shoes. She said he pushed her on the swing and walked with her in the yard. Her parents smiled at first, thinking it was just an imaginary friend, until one of the neighbors recognized the name. Lon Gordy was his name, had lived nearby, and he had died about 3 years before Heidi was born. Then came Con. Heidi described him as a man with white hair, bandaged hand, and blood on his shirt. Lisa panicked when she first heard this. That's the mom. Because she actually thought that someone had tried to abduct her daughter, that someone had come to the backyard, but no one was ever found. They called the police, everything. Later, they learned that the man was named Converse, and he was locally known as Con. He had died in an accident that matched Heidi's description almost exactly, from the injury to the arm to where the blood was. And then the house started up. The house started to fill with knocks, with whispers, footsteps in empty rooms. Heidi saw shadowy figures around her bed. She woke up with scratches and bruises. Doors opened on their own. Cold spots lingered. The feeling of being watched became constant. And the haunting was no longer just Heidi's. It was everybody's. Everybody was seeing like these ghostly figures. Neighbors confirmed the names. They remembered Mr. Gordy. They knew Con. Skeptics tried to explain it away, but the Warwicks couldn't ignore what they saw, heard, and felt. Eventually, like happens, the activity kind of just stopped. It went away. And it just disappeared.
Interesting. And what year did this take place?
1989. Down there in Georgia. Now, this was actually, I believe this was one that was shown on Unsolved Mysteries. This is one of the unsolved mystery ones. If I remember, I think so. No, not William Shatner.
Oh.
That's unexplained.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
unexplained. But close enough. Very similar vein.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
This is Unsolved Mysteries with the guy from Star Trek Generation? Next Generation?
No. That is Believe It or Not.
Oh, gotcha.
What was this family's name again?
The
Warwicks.
Wyrick. Wyrick, maybe is how you say it.
That's so interesting.
They do have an episode about the Warwick house.
So it's kind of a funky one. This is a weird one in that this doesn't necessarily follow kind of a normal poltergeist. I included it on this one because it's included on a lot of like the poltergeist sites, but this is one where like it's more of little girls seeing ghosts. You know, it's almost a different genre of the ghosts. Now, one of the things I will say about this is another one where they start talking a little bit about some of the theories that they have behind what was going on. So I want to talk a little bit about theories. One of the very first theories that people talk about is all of the psychological theories, specifically stress and repression and manifesting external disturbances. In other words, a person that is under extreme stress is actually repressing a memory of then moving things about and then calling it like a poltergeist.
Oh.
So this is a big thing that happens, especially in teenagers, they say. When you're under an extreme stress, you might even go into kind of a fugue state, move something, and then kind of come to and say, oh my gosh,
how did that
go from A to B? We've got ourselves a poltergeist.
Yeah.
You know? We have some... on more of the woo-woo side, the unconscious psychokinesis. This is the idea that people can literally move things with their mind and are unaware that they're moving things with their mind. This is something that they say a lot for, I don't know why it pops up, but when the story is involving like a teenage girl or a preteen girl, so the Enfield ghost one, this is a theory that pops up a lot. This also kind of popped up in this last one that I read about the house in Georgia. This idea that under extreme stress, the body is manifesting these electromagnetic vibes or something, and is actually moving things around. I don't know.
Wow.
Ooh.
I don't know. Now, let's talk environmental and physical causes. The very first one is electromagnetic fields. The idea that electromagnetic fields are disruptive, and so a gone haywire electromagnetic field actually can cause you to have pretty extreme anxiety. It can cause you to have kind of these fugue states. There's some funky things when you start kind of messing with your body's natural electromagnetism, and they say that there's natural causes that actually could cause this to happen. Infrasound. I think, Jake, you talked about infrasound one time, didn't you?
Infrasound?
Yeah. The idea that there's like there is this, the earth makes noise, right? Mm-hmm. And some of this noises is undetectable to us, but as the earth makes noise, it can actually disrupt kind of our psyche kind of. Yeah. And so people start to, and it happens a lot. If you look at like where the fault lines are in the U.S.
So Utah,
there is like this high corroboration of seeing ghosts and where the faults are.
And I think there's a really strong one. I can't remember if it's in Siberia or somewhere, because that's where, do you remember that story in Russia where all those people went out into the...
Oh, the Dyatlov Pass. Yeah.
That's kind of what their thought is that they literally were driven insane because there was an unknown noise from
that was pulsing.
So there's so many different things when it comes to this. The other one is carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, this is a very, very, very popular theory when it comes especially to old times. And that's just people just didn't have good enough ventilation when they were making fires. And so you would have a buildup of this carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide kind of can make you hallucinate.
It makes you delirious.
It does. Yep. It makes you delirious. It makes you hallucinate. You act in funky ways. And so, there is a pretty strong belief that the John Wesley story could have been carbon monoxide poisoning, because they went back years and years later, and like I said, the Methodist Church actually owns the rectory that they were in, and it's not that well ventilated.
Gotcha.
That's still a weird one though, because it happened kind of in the middle of the summer when you wouldn't expect there to be fires. I don't know. Anyways, the parapsychology theories, residual energies,
and this is something that you believe in it.
I
am subscribe to.
Yeah, I am open to the idea that this could be something.
The echo of a person.
Exactly. Just kind of the idea that maybe there's something left over from you when you're kind of gone. Mm-hmm. Your energies don't just immediately go away. That maybe we're a very complex, very active thing, and the energy might just stick around for a little while. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Intelligent spirits. The idea that, someone's died and they really are haunting the place. And then there's some cultural and sociological theories. One is folklore and expectation, and I kind of looked into this a little bit more. And it's just the idea that if you are raised with a story, you are more likely to experience the story. Or the idea that if you're raised in a family or a culture where they are more accepting of kind of the paranormal, you're more likely to see paranormal things happen. Now, could that just be that,
you're actually seeing stuff?
You're actually seeing stuff, or is it just that the culture is more accepting? I have no idea. Mass hysteria is a big one. And mass hysteria is a weird thing, and it still happens. Like there was recently a couple years ago where college students came down with all of the similar symptoms of someone who had like major influenza, like down to like they were going into the hospital with high fevers, and the doctors just couldn't find anything. There was no viruses, there was no nothing. And it kind of came down to that everyone was preparing for this big test. Their stress levels were incredibly high. One person did get sick, and everybody else convinced themselves that they were sick. and their bodies exhibited symptoms as if they were sick. And you got to think that if your body can do that, and your unconscious mind can do that, it could probably convince you of all sorts of different things.
Well, so, I mean, I bring up this. You look at schizophrenia, how, schizophrenic people can hear voices.
Sure.
Sometimes they manifest individuals, different things like that. And that's just a chemical imbalance within the brain. What if we can trigger that chemical change that chemical with just, stress, thoughts, whatever, and cause that too?
Sure. It's weird in that I can read through these stories and I think that I could come up with a logical reason why most of them come. But there's always that weird thing in the back of my head that says, yes, but. Like, how did the little girl know the names? Could it be that she just overheard them? Of course. Mm-hmm. But how did she know the names?
And then how did she describe them?
Yeah.
The detail and
with the Enfield ghost, why were the police able to see what they were to see if the family was gone? Mm-hmm. Or even going back just in like some of the older ones, like the drummer one. What I didn't talk about is that the drummer one was so fascinating that it was almost like something that people came and did. So like if, there wasn't a lot of like Disneylands back there. So people would come and they would enter into this house because it was like an exciting thing to do. You go to Stonehenge and then you walk to the house and hear the drumming ghost. And there's enough people that kind of overheard it that you just go, okay, why wasn't there a lot of people saying, oh no, it's obviously, Gertrude up in the ceiling thumbing on things, Was it just that they wanted to believe?
Rats.
Yeah, was it the rats? Was it, I don't know. So I don't know. Poltergeist, guys.
Poltergeist, does it exist? Does it not? Or do we believe?
Yeah, what do you guys think? Where are you on the thoughts of poltergeists? Jake, what about you?
I'm along the realm of I don't believe it at all. And that
pure skepticism
on that part. But I mean, I grew up with an overactive imagination. I also grew up with night terrors. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing things walk down the hallway in the basement.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that. Mm-hmm. I remember hearing noises that were not just normal house noises.
Yeah.
But my thing is
but I was down there too and didn't hear a darn thing.
And that's just it. It was one of those things that and then you start over, like, you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? And then eventually it's to the point where it's like, well, no, that's not it. And then it stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's literally what it is. Like, oh, that's actually not what it is. And then it kind of goes away. And so my big thing is the brain is a phenomenal instrument of creation. You can do so much with art, writing, and all those things, but you can also, see things. I also, as we talked about, when you have trauma and stuff like that, rewriting history is a very common thing.
Yeah.
Where you have things that happen and then maybe there's a little bit adjusted somewhere in the brain that makes it so it's like, well, that's actually not what happened 100%, but you're like, no, I believe that 100%.
Yeah, I have to believe that. So, yep.
And they can, with polygraph tests, those type of people can prove it because in their brain,
they believe it's true.
It is 100%.
And it's just like the things are like, oh, I woke up with bruises and scratches. Your body moves during the night.
I was going to say, you're scratching and bruising and all over the place. Yeah.
So there's a lot. I'm a skeptic. Like, even watching the Enfield thing, it's like I feel for them. They feel so strongly about it. I feel bad that this happened to them, but I don't believe that that's what they saw.
Yeah.
So
I agree. What about you, Josh?
I'm about 50-50 here. I think definitely the mind can play some pretty crazy tricks and make us believe and create things that aren't naturally there. But I also believe that, there are things that are unexplainable that may be in a different sphere of or plane of living or whatever you call it, that we just can't detect.
Sure.
With a few of the English things, I look at, the Enfields, and when was that, 77 or whatever?
1977.
That's 30 years after some of the horrific bombings of England.
Yeah, 100%.
And their parents probably were young kids or somewhere around World War II, and the PTSD that might have occurred from, a bomb goes off a mile away, your chair's moving.
Sure.
And so just a reflection of, that and personifying it on their family. There's different things that can occur. So, like I said, 50-50, I think a lot of it is mental, things that can occur, but also
maybe there's something out there.
There's something out there.
I think that's where I'm at. I think I'm at the whole 98.2%. 98% of the time, I think it's so easily explained it's almost laughable. It is the Ghost Adventures. It's the okay.
Beep, 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 son of a beep, beep,
obviously
beep, beep,
something's
beep,
going on. But every once in a while, there's a story. Poltergeist.
My mic just fell up.
Oh my gosh. Every once in a while, there's a story that pops up. And believe it or not, for me, it is the mundane stories. It is the story of, why did that happen? Like Dad's drawer opening up story.
I still wouldn't think it's the funniest thing, because if it was me, I'd ask for another hotel room. My dad just said, well, if you're here, just make yourself comfortable and I'll be here too.
The door, the thing opens up by itself. Dad closes it, waits for a little while, and the thing opens up again. It's one of those there's probably a reason behind it, but
Dagbland ghost.
maybe not. We're going to end on talking about the movie Poltergeist.
See, and
I've never watched it.
Have you never watched it?
No.
this was back in this.
Man.
This was 80s. Back in the 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And if I remember, it had to do with the TV, right?
It did.
And for some odd reason, I thought a poltergeist was like goo coming out of a television.
I can see why there was. Poltergeist is one of those weird movies that it is so encapsulated within the zeitgeist of the 80s and Gen X and emotional trauma. Generational
Doesn't
emotional
something
trauma.
happen in a room?
Yes. Well, so for those who haven't seen it, go out and watch it. It's corny now. It doesn't hold up as good. There's still some legitimately kind of parts, but it's dumb. The reason why it holds such a weird part in the zeitgeist of the culture is when it first came out, it was rated PG. So this movie and the Temple of Doom, the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, are directly responsible for PG-13 being a thing. Because everybody...
Freaking Indiana.
Not Airplane with nude women or, any of those other things.
No, believe it or not, no, because most people, the way that this was marketed, it wasn't marketed as a horror film. So this was a Steven Spielberg horror. This was a Steven Spielberg produced, and then when it turns out, Steven Spielberg directed. He ghost directed it too.
Get it?
It was supposed to be it was marketed kind of as this family film. And so you can imagine you got these people who are bringing in their kids that are 6, 8 years old. And all of a sudden you've got this creepy clown monster that is crawling underneath a bed to kill you. You've got trees that are grabbing you. You've got little girls disappearing in the TVs. And you've got the guy who plays Coach just being sad all the time. People.
See, I'm confused. See, this is not what I thought Poltergeist was. What's the one with the green-haired crazy ghost that just came out with a sequel?
Oh, that's Beetlejuice.
It's Beetlejuice.
See, I was really
Totally
confused.
different one.
Holy
I was like, wow, this is way different.
No, Poltergeist.
Poltergeist is.
I haven't seen that one.
Poltergeist, like I said, in my eyes, and this is Josh speaking, it's an 80s movie with a 60s horror film vibe.
It is so loosely, so the whole film Poltergeist, if you watch it now and you watch it under the guise of, this is a story about how middle class living isn't all that it's cracked up to be. It's like a thinly veiled allegory on modern life that's made into a horror film.
Why does a movie have to have an allegory? Why can't we just not have allegories?
But Poltergeist the movie is associated with Poltergeist the movie The Curse, because there was some weird things that happened to people during the filming and after the filming. Number one, during the filming, there is a part where they go into their backyard swimming pool and skeletons kind of come up because I think that the house was built on ancient burial ground, whatever.
Yeah.
Cliche.
Well, but I think this is what caused the cliche.
I get it.
So the funny part about that is, and maybe I shouldn't say funny, but the skeletons that they used were real skeletons.
Yeah.
It wasn't like fake skeletons. It was cheaper at the time just to go and get a bunch of real skeletons and kind of come out and
there
do
were a
it.
lot of movies that did that.
Hello, John Hopkins. Can I get some cadavers?
The second thing, which is a little bit more tragic, is that two of the people that were involved with this film died really shortly after, and from really crazy things. The sister, whose name was Dominic Dunn, was actually choked to death by her boyfriend.
Oh my gosh.
And then the little girl, the one that's they're here, the one who is up against the TV, her name was Heather O'Rourke. She was misdiagnosed. They thought that she had some stomach problems. I think she had like GERD. That's what they thought she had. No, she had like a whole bowel obstruction, and it blew up and it killed her.
Oh my gosh.
And she was little.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Don't worry, you had your organ removed. You're fine.
You're pretty sure that you're okay.
Oh, I'm on my way out. Gosh.
We didn't use any actual skeletons in the making of this thing. But anyways, so the Poltergeist movie is associated with kind of this weird curse. And it happened, they came out with a Poltergeist 2, and 2 people died from that one. And it's kind of
Didn't
a funky...
that happen with, what's the one where they chase out the demons?
Exorcist?
Yeah.
I think there was some things associated with Exorcist. I can't remember though.
The moral of the story is, what the heck are you doing making scary stories?
That's true.
Just make a cartoon, dagnabbit.
Though I will say, for the sake of it being Halloween, you should go and watch it, because
Watch Scooby-Doo.
Let me tell you why you should watch
That
it.
one scares me.
Maybe you don't go watch this one, but go at least watch the Simpsons parody of this one, where they move into the haunted house that bleeds, and then Marge gets mad at the haunted house.
Is that what this is based off of?
That is 100% what it's based off of.
I'll say, because that's one of my favorite things.
Yes.
See, I have my Halloween traditions are I watch through the Treehouse of Horrors
Up until
or Terrors. Sorry.
season 12.
Yeah, after that they get a little weird and a
dumb.
little bit more gruesome.
Once the Harry Potter one comes, I'm done. I won't watch them after that.
And then I watch all the Scooby-Doo movies.
So you want to know what mine is? So I do all of the Simpsons up until they do the Harry Potter one. Then I know I'm done. I do Young Frankenstein,
I do like Young Frankenstein.
because Young Frankenstein is
Young
awesome.
Frankenstein.
I do the Tale of Ichabod Crane, the Disney one.
Ooh, that's a good one. Too.
Ichabod.
We used to watch that here at Mom and Dad's house.
Yeah, speaking of which, traumatizing your children. The
Here
freaking
comes the
horseman coming at nighttime scared the bejeebus out of me forever.
I remember watching that in Grandma and Grandpa's basement when they had all the lights off, and it freaked me out.
Oh, yeah.
Here come the boom.
I know, and it's Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
He's just boom, 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 and you're like, oh, okay. Arsenic and Old Lace. I still watch Arsenic and Old Lace because I think it's Cary Grant is amazing. And then I will watch Hocus Pocus.
I've never watched Hocus Pocus all the way through.
What?
I've only
Hocus
I think
Pocus.
every time I've ever watched it, it's the very end.
You have to watch Hocus Pocus because it's one of those 90s movies that was totally supposed to be a B movie but turned into a cult classic.
It is such a
So
good
have you
movie.
guys watched the second one then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
a.
have. It's not as good.
My wife asked to watch it at least once every month throughout the whole entire year.
Hocus Pocus or Hocus Pocus 2?
Both.
Really? I love Hocus Pocus.
See, my wife.
My wife.
My wife.
My wife.
I'm trying to think. I mean, we're trying to one of the so I'm not a Doctor Who person. My wife is very much a Doctor Who person.
Ooh, the Angels.
The Angels, the Weeping Angels.
no.
That's how I got introduced. Is she showed me a bunch of the Weeping Angels, which
Angels.
are pretty.
They're
Or
pretty freaky.
how about the Silent Library?
Silent Library is pretty freaky too.
That one scares me.
See, I'm not.
That's the Shadow one.
That's
I
the
don't
one
think
with
I've
the
watched that one.
astronaut. You haven't?
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh, that's a good one.
See, again, I'm not as much of a Doctor Who person.
And then I'll watch a handful of like just scary shows.
Do you guys still watch Chickmunks Meet Frankenstein?
If I can't find it,
Oh, really?
I can't find any of the chipmunks. I can't find anymore.
I say because I'm trying to remember. They had it on last year. I thought it was on Disney, but I was able to watch it last year.
I've been trying to find Chipmunk's Grand Adventure forever.
I mean, we have mom and dads. We can. Oh wait, I can't say that.
Yo ho, yo ho.
We can't sing that either.
And then we all got sued.
Yeah, I watch Hocus Pocus, Ichabod Crane because I love that one.
I do.
Even though that did scare me like so bad as a kid. So much so that I'd watch Mr. Toads after.
Well, it used to come on one. It came together, yeah.
And then sometimes if I'm feeling it, if like I really want to scare my wife,
Your wife?
Your wife?
I watch The Ring.
The original Ring?
The original Ring.
Never watched The Ring.
It's a hit and miss.
See, I'm not a scary movie person.
But I also watch one of my favorite series that I won't name, but it's a really good one.
House on Haunted Hill?
No.
I'll name that one. That one's excellent.
But it's the made by the same people.
Oh. Yeah, no, I like the spooky stuff. I kind of like getting scared a little bit. So I'll
Really?
go and...
I don't like the feeling.
But Haunted House on the Hill is a really good one.
House on Haunted Hill, yeah. I'll watch like Signs.
See, and I watched Signs.
I watched Ghost
once, and then I had to walk home by myself after that.
Ghost?
And that
I'm
was
just kidding.
You watch?
Oh, my love. And Whoopi Goldberg's in this too.
I almost started singing "For Always." That's different. That's AI. That one creeped me out too when I was a kid.
Well, we've come to the end, gentlemen.
Oh
We've
my
made it through
gosh.
the spooky one. Next week on the Twaddling Along podcast, we are delving into the human condition. And I believe, Jacob, it is you.
Is it me?
It is you. You are
son of a gun.
going into make it spooky because it's October. A spooky human condition that won't cause me to have existential
Let's talk
dread.
about fear.
Ooh, that would be fun. We've already talked about fear a lot, but
I was thinking of talking about toe fungus.
toe fungus, the human condition.
Have you ever seen the commercials that creep me out the most are the ones that they have the toenail fungus and they lift the toenail?
Oh,
I
I hate it.
those.
I hate it. I can't even think about it. Oh, I can't even think about it.
See?
And with that, thank you for joining us. As always, be on the lookout for all of our stuff. It is everywhere that you can find your podcast. YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple. If you can find a podcast, you should be able to find ours. Leave us some comments, rate us, and just enjoy the spooky season.
Or don't.
Or don't.